See the UK election less than a month away. Keir Starmer's, odds on to be Prime Minister. Tell us about him. Is he a safe pair of hands as a Labor leader?
I think he's weak, really. I mean, he's obviously just following the advice of pollsters, has a bare minimum of policies, wants to toughen up the industrial relations system. That's always a focus for Labor parties, and spend a lot of money on green initiatives. But he's being very cautious in what he says. I think he'd be the kind of Prime Minister that Anthony Albanese is, really. I don't think he'll do anything very exciting. He's not charismatic, and the place will just sort of stagger on with low productivity and low economic growth. I don't think he'll do anything exciting.
Let's have a look at a snippet from one of the election debates, and this one focuses on an issue that you're very familiar with, and that is the immigration policies, the border protection policies that Rishi Sunak has put in place involving Rwanda. Here we go.
If I'm your Prime Minister, the planes will go to Rwanda, we will have a deterrent. So the simple question for Keir Starmer is, what will you do with people who come here illegally? What will you do with them? Well, very simply, what will you do with them? That's what I'm going to do. We'll have a deterrent. What are you going to do?
We need to smash the gangs that are running this vile trade, making a huge amount of money, putting some of the most vulnerable people in boats across the Channel.
Yeah, smash the gangs like they've been trying to do for the last 2 decades, I suppose. Is immigration a big issue in this election?
It is a big issue. I mean, the cost of living issues, although inflation's fallen to well below 3% now. I think in the UK it's running at about 2.3%, so it's pretty low. There's no real unemployment. There's a bit of a labour shortage, but cost of living has been a big issue, the biggest issue. But immigration is right up there, and particularly illegal immigration, people coming in small inflatable boats across the English Channel. So that's why there's this debate between the leaders over the so-called Rwanda plan, which is a photocopy, really, of what we did sending people to Nauru to create the disincentive and to destroy the business model of the people smugglers.
Yeah, now, very briefly, though, do you think that under Keir Starmer the party would go to the left? He's not presenting a sort of a hard left veneer, but is that the danger, that it would end up being a much more left-wing government than he would portray in an election campaign?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Chris. I think it would be for sure much more left-wing. They've after all come from the far left as a political party under Jeremy Corbyn, and Keir Starmer was one of his senior shadow cabinet members. So they've moderated their position very substantially, as I was saying earlier, because electorally the far left position is completely untenable. But on the other hand, once they get into power, and they certainly will do on the 4th of July, once they get into power, I think they will drift a long way to the left. I think their backbenchers in particular will be substantially left-wing, more left-wing. I mean, a bit like, some of them are a bit like the Australian Greens. They're out there on the extreme left.
All right. Yep.
So going to end up with that.
We are out of time. Thanks so much for joining us, Alexandra. I appreciate it.